The night wind sliced through the narrow alleys like a knife, carrying the scent of rain, rust, and rot. Lila Parker pulled her threadbare hoodie tighter around her small frame, trying to shield herself from the cold that had long ago stopped feeling temporary. The cardboard shelter she'd called home for the past 3 months was soaked through, leaving her no choice but to wander the dark streets of New York in search of something, anything that could keep her alive for another night. But tonight, survival wasn't what stopped her heart. It was that sound, a cry, thin, fragile, trembling, like a whisper begging not to be forgotten. Lila's bare feet splashed through puddles as she followed it, every instinct screaming that it couldn't be real. Maybe the cold was finally playing tricks on her, but then she saw it. A flicker of white under the dim orange glow of a broken street lamp. There, beside an overflowing dumpster behind a closed bakery, lay a small bundle wrapped in a silk blanket so clean it didn't belong in a place like this. Lila froze. The crying grew louder. Her heart clenched painfully as she knelt beside it, pushing the wet hair from her face. When she peeled the blanket open, her breath hitched. A baby, no more than a few months old, looked up at her with piercing blue eyes that shone through the darkness. His cheeks were red from the cold, but he was alive. "Oh my God," she whispered, hands trembling as she gathered him into her arms. "Who would do this to you?" The baby whimpered softly, nuzzling against her chest as if he already knew she wouldn't hurt him. Lila felt something stir deep inside her, a warmth she hadn't felt in years. She had been abandoned too once, left in the foster system, passed from house to house until she aged out at 18 and the world forgot her. She knew exactly how it felt to be unwanted, but this baby, he didn't belong in the gutter. His blanket smelled faintly of lavender and expensive detergent, and his skin was soft, untouched by hardship. Around his wrist gleamed a delicate gold bracelet engraved with a strange crest, a circle of wings surrounding the letter H. Lila brushed her thumb across it, heart racing. "Who are you, little one?" she whispered. The baby blinked up at her, calm now, as though reassured by her presence. Lightning flashed, throwing the alley into stark relief. Lila knew she couldn't stay there. If anyone found her holding a baby she didn't own, she'd be in trouble. But how could she leave him? He'd freeze before morning. Her stomach growled in protest, reminding her that she hadn't eaten since yesterday, but she ignored it. Carefully, she pulled the silk blanket tighter around the child and tucked him under her coat. "Okay," she murmured, glancing around the empty alley. "We'll figure this out together." She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to move. As she walked, the rain softened into mist. The baby's breathing steadied against her chest. Lila ducked beneath the awning of an old bus stop and sat down, cradling him close. Her mind swirled with questions. Who would leave a child like this behind? Why was he dressed in fine clothes with jewelry that probably cost more than she'd ever seen in her life? And why did those blue eyes seem to hold something familiar? Something unsettlingly human, something powerful. She couldn't shake the feeling that this was no ordinary baby. A flash of headlights cut across the street, and for a moment, she glimpsed a luxury black SUV crawling slowly through the rain. Inside, a man in a tailored suit sat with his phone pressed to his ear, his face pale and tense. He looked desperate, haunted. The SUV passed, disappearing into the darkness, but Lila's heart raced. Something told her that man was connected to the baby. Somehow fate had just placed her in the middle of a story far bigger than her own. She looked down at the sleeping boy, his tiny fist clutching her hoodie as if afraid she might vanish. "Don't worry," she whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I won't let you go. Not like they did to me." She didn't know it yet, but that promise would change everything. Because miles away, in a penthouse filled with panic and flashing police lights, billionaire Ethan Harlow was tearing apart the world searching for his missing infant son. And on this cold, forgotten street, a homeless girl unknowingly held that same billionaire's baby in her arms. But how long could a secret like that stay hidden? And what would happen when their worlds finally collided? The morning sun crept reluctantly over the skyline, turning the soaked streets into mirrors of pale gold. Lila Parker sat beneath an abandoned bus shelter, her hoodie clinging damply to her skin, the baby wrapped tightly in the silk blanket beside her. His tiny breaths puffed against her chest, rhythmic and soft. She hadn't slept all night, not really. Every sound, every car door, every police siren made her heart jump. By dawn, the rain had stopped, leaving behind a thick silence that pressed against her ears. The baby stirred, whimpering softly. Lila rocked him instinctively, humming a half-forgotten tune she used to sing in the group home. It was strange how easily her arms adjusted, how naturally her heart responded. She hadn't held anyone this close in years. "Hey, little man," she murmured. "You hungry too, huh?" Her stomach twisted, answering for both of them. She had no formula, no bottle, nothing but the stale bagel she'd found in a dumpster the night before. She couldn't give that to him. He was too fragile. Lila looked up, eyes landing on a corner store across the street. A small bell hung over the door. She hesitated. Walking in there with a baby in her arms would draw attention. People notice babies. People ask questions, but the child shifted again, his face scrunching in discomfort. Lila's chest ached. "All right," she whispered. "We'll take a risk." She crossed the street quickly, clutching the baby under her coat. The bell jingled as she stepped inside. The warmth of the store hit her face like a wave, carrying the scent of coffee and fried dough. The clerk behind the counter, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked up. "Morning," the woman greeted. Her gaze fell to the baby. "Oh, honey, is he yours?" Lila froze.
Yeah, just
need some milk." The woman smiled gently. "You look exhausted, sweetheart. Let me warm a bottle for you. We keep some for customers sometimes." Lila blinked, her throat tightening. "Really? You do that?" The clerk nodded, already walking to the back. Lila exhaled shakily, eyes darting around the store. Every second felt like a spotlight. She prayed no one recognized the engraved bracelet glinting from beneath the blanket. When the woman returned with a small warm bottle, Lila thanked her quietly. The baby drank greedily, small sighs escaping between gulps. Lila couldn't help but smile. For a moment it felt almost normal, like she was just another mother doing what she had to do. But reality never stayed kind for long. The bell over the door chimed again, and 2 police officers entered. Lila's breath hitched. They approached the counter, speaking in low voices. She heard snippets: missing infant, billionaire family, possible abduction. Her blood ran cold. One of the officers glanced in her direction. "You seen any women around here with a baby recently?" The clerk hesitated, eyes flicking toward Lila. Lila's heart pounded so hard she thought the baby could hear it. The officer's gaze followed, landing squarely on her. "Ma'am," he said, stepping closer. "Can we talk for a second?" She gripped the bottle tighter. I didn't do anything." The officer's tone softened. "No one said you did. We just want to make sure everything's all right." The baby whimpered as if sensing her fear. The officer crouched slightly, peering at the bracelet. His brows furrowed. That's gold, isn't it?" Lila's pulse spiked. She rose abruptly, clutching the baby to her chest. "I have to go." "Ma'am, wait." But she was already moving. She bolted through the door and into the street, the officer shouting behind her. The world blurred into motion. Cars, horns, rain-slick pavement flashing beneath her feet. Her lungs burned as she ducked into an alley, heart racing. The baby pressed tightly against her chest. Please stay quiet," she whispered desperately. The infant whimpered once, then fell silent, as if understanding. Lila pressed herself behind a stack of crates, trembling. Tears filled her eyes. What had she done? She didn't even know why she was running, only that if she stopped, she'd lose him. She didn't know who he truly belonged to, but every instinct in her body told her to protect him. Minutes passed. The shouts faded. The city swallowed the sound. When she finally emerged, breathless and shaking, the sun was higher. She wandered until she found an old, abandoned building near the river, a forgotten factory with shattered windows and rusted stairs. It wasn't safe, but it was shelter. Inside, she laid the baby on her coat, brushing his cheek softly. "I don't know who you are, little guy," she whispered, "but someone out there's looking for you. Someone powerful." Outside, unseen by her, a black SUV crawled down the same street again. Ethan Harlow's vehicle. His face was pale, hollowed by sleepless nights, his voice hoarse as he spoke into his phone. "I don't care what it costs," he said coldly. "Find my son. Every second counts." He didn't know that the woman he sought, the homeless girl the world ignored, was just a few blocks away, holding the only piece of his heart that truly mattered. But how long before fate forced their paths to collide? And when it did, Would she hand the child over? Or fight to keep him? Night fell again, painting the abandoned factory in streaks of moonlight and shadow. The city hummed beyond its crumbling walls, distant sirens, the low groan of traffic, the restless hum of a world that had forgotten people like Lila Parker. She sat on the cold concrete floor, the baby, now fast asleep, cradled in her lap. His name still eluded her. She only called him Little Star because he glowed even in the dark. Her body ached, her eyes stung from exhaustion, but her mind wouldn't rest. Every echo in the factory sounded like footsteps. Every flash of headlights through the cracks made her flinch. She was a fugitive without a crime, unless loving too hard counted as one. As the baby's tiny fingers wrapped around hers, a flood of memories crashed through her like waves. She saw herself at 6 years old, sitting on the steps of a foster home, clutching a teddy bear missing an eye. Rain soaked her hair then too. Her mother had promised to come back. She never did. Each new house after that promised forever, but forever always ended before she unpacked. By 16, she'd stopped asking questions and learned to survive silence. Now, years later, she looked at the child sleeping in her arms and whispered, "I won't let the world break you the way it broke me." But promises had consequences, and this one would demand more than she imagined. Somewhere across the city, billionaire Ethan Harlow stood in his penthouse surrounded by chaos. Detectives, reporters, security staff, all buzzing like angry wasps. The skyline stretched endlessly beyond the floor-to-ceiling glass, but to him it felt like a cage. His wife's voice trembled through the silence. "Ethan, it's been 2 days. What if we never find him?" He turned sharply. "Don't say that, Claire. He's out there. I can feel it, but deep down fear was eating him alive. The footage from the hospital, the car accident, the missing driver, everything pointed toward abduction. Yet ransom calls never came. No one demanded money. That was what scared him most. His mind replayed that night. The crash, the chaos, the blinding rain. His driver's panicked voice before the line went dead, and the last glimpse of his infant son's car seat, empty under shattered glass. He gripped the edge of his desk, jaw tight. Who would take my son? And why haven't they asked for anything? Meanwhile, in the dim light of the factory, Lila hummed softly to soothe the baby. She'd managed to trade her last pair of gloves for a half-empty bottle of formula from a street vendor. It wasn't much, but it kept him fed. She studied him as he slept, the smooth curve of his face, the delicate lashes, the tiny hand still clutching her hoodie. Everything about him whispered privilege. He didn't belong here among rust and dust, and yet in her heart he did, because for the first time in years someone needed her. The door creaked. Lila stiffened, pulling the baby close. A shadow moved, then a man stepped into view, his figure backlit by the moon. He was thin, dressed in layers of ragged clothing, his face lined with hardship. "Easy," he said, lifting his hands. "Didn't mean to scare you." Lila's pulse hammered. "What do you want?" "Same thing you do, probably, shelter." His voice was rough but not threatening. "Name's Marcus. Been crashing here for months. Didn't expect company." Lila hesitated, then nodded slowly. "I just needed somewhere dry. I'll leave soon." Marcus glanced at the baby, eyes softening. "You got a kid?" "Not really," she said, voice barely above a whisper. Marcus tilted his head. "You on the run?" Lila's silence said enough. He sighed and sat a few feet away. "Look, I don't care what your story is, but you should know, cops been crawling all over downtown, talking about a missing billionaire's baby. They're offering $500,000 for information." Lila's blood turned to ice. He noticed her expression and frowned. "You okay?" She forced a shaky smile. "Yeah, just tired." But her mind was spinning. A billionaire's baby. Her heart lurched as she remembered the golden bracelet, the crest, the silk blanket. She'd known he came from money, but not this kind of money. $500,000 just for information meant power beyond her comprehension. She looked down at the baby, now stirring slightly. His eyes fluttered open, meeting hers. That piercing blue again. So deep, so familiar, it felt like they were trying to tell her something. She whispered, "Who are you, really?" Marcus lit a cigarette, the glow casting orange shadows on the wall. "Whoever that kid belongs to, they're dangerous people. You should think carefully before keeping him. Folks like that, they don't forgive mistakes." His words hit her like thunder. She stared at the baby, her heart in war with itself. Returning him might mean saving his life, but it would also mean losing the only piece of warmth she'd found in years. Outside, wind howled through broken glass. Lila tightened her hold, whispering to herself more than to him. I can't let them take you. Not yet, not until I know the truth. Far across the city, Ethan Harlow's phone buzzed. A new lead. A witness had seen a girl near a convenience store the night before. Thin, dark-haired, carrying an infant wrapped in silk. His heart slammed against his ribs. Find her, he ordered, voice shaking. Find her now. And as search teams spread through the city, fate began closing its circle. Lila Parker didn't know that by morning. Every screen in New York would show her face. Homeless girl wanted in connection with billionaire's missing son. But what would happen when truth finally reached her hands? Would she run again, or surrender the child who had already become her world? The city never truly slept, but tonight it felt breathless, like the air itself was waiting for something to happen. Rain returned, light and cold, tracing silver lines down the cracked windows of the abandoned factory where Lila Parker held the baby close. He was warm against her chest, his soft breathing a fragile rhythm against the noise outside. But she could feel it. The world was closing in. Her reflection stared back at her from a puddle. Tired eyes, tangled hair, clothes that clung to her like defeat. Behind her, the golden bracelet glimmered faintly under the moonlight, the mark of everything she didn't belong to. The sound of footsteps made her turn sharply. Marcus slipped through the side door, soaked and tense. Lila, he hissed. You need to see this. He handed her a crumpled newspaper, still damp from the rain. The headline hit her like lightning. Missing billionaire's son, $1,000 reward for safe return. Below the bold letters was a photograph. Ethan Harlow, his wife Claire, and between them, a baby with bright blue eyes and the same gold bracelet now resting on Lila's lap. Her breath caught. The ground seemed to vanish beneath her. It was him, her little star. She stared at the photo until it blurred. The baby gurgled softly, reaching up to touch her face as if to comfort her this time. Marcus exhaled slowly. You see it now, don't you? You've been hiding a billionaire's kid, Lila's voice broke. I didn't steal him, Marcus. I found him. Someone left him in the rain. I believe you, Marcus interrupted gently. But they won't. To them, you're just a homeless girl. And the world listens to money, not to people like us. Her hands trembled as she folded the paper. If I go to the police, they'll take him away before I can explain. If I keep running, they'll call me a kidnapper. Marcus nodded grimly. Either way, they'll find you soon. Lila's eyes dropped to the sleeping baby, his tiny fingers curled around hers. I just wanted to keep him safe. Marcus hesitated, then reached into his coat and handed her a small envelope. There's a shelter on 14th Street. Run by a woman named Sister Agnes. Tell her I sent you. She can help. Lila swallowed hard, tears stinging her eyes. Why are you helping me? He shrugged. Because once somebody helped me too. That was all he said before slipping back into the rain. Lila held the baby tighter, whispering, We're almost there, little star, I promise. Hours later, the streets glowed with flashing red and blue. Police sirens echoed through the city like thunder. News vans parked outside the Harlow estate. The world was watching. Inside his office, Ethan Harlow stared at the baby's photograph, fingers trembling as he gripped his phone. We have a lead, the detective's voice crackled. Witness spotted a girl matching the description near the riverfront. Ethan's heart stopped. Alive? Yes, sir. She's carrying an infant. Ethan didn't wait for more. I'm going myself. He was already out the door before anyone could stop him. The shelter on 14th Street was dimly lit, its wooden cross casting long shadows across the walls. Lila hesitated at the entrance, clutching the baby under her coat. Her shoes squelched from the rain. She could hear faint hymns echoing inside, soft, welcoming, safe. But as she stepped forward, a bright light flashed, headlights cutting through the mist. A car door slammed. Lila Parker! The voice froze her where she stood. When she turned, the world seemed to slow. Ethan Harlow was standing there in the rain, tall, breathless, drenched, eyes burning with disbelief. His gaze locked on the baby in her arms, and for a heartbeat he couldn't move. Lila's lips parted. You're his father. He took a step forward, voice breaking. My son, where did you find him? Her voice trembled. Behind a dumpster, alone. He was crying and no one came. Tears filled Ethan's eyes as he closed the distance between them. I thought I'd lost him forever. Lila's grip tightened. I didn't take him, I swear. I just wanted to keep him safe. I believe you, Ethan said softly, his tone stripped of accusation. You saved him. For a long moment they stood there under the rain, two people from worlds apart, bound by the fragile life between them. The baby stirred, cooing softly. Ethan reached out, hesitating. Lila hesitated too. Every part of her screamed to hold on, but deep down she knew she couldn't keep what wasn't hers. His name? She whispered. Ethan smiled faintly through tears. Noah, his name is Noah. Lila nodded, brushing a tear from her cheek. It fits him. She leaned down, pressing a gentle kiss to the baby's forehead. Goodbye, little star. Her arms felt unbearably empty as she handed him over. Ethan cradled Noah close, his whole body shaking with relief. You gave me back my life, he said quietly. You have no idea what this means. She tried to smile, but her voice cracked. Just take care of him. That's all I need. Before she could turn away, Ethan stopped her. Wait. He looked at her, really looked, and for the first time saw more than a stranger. He saw the exhaustion, the courage, the unspoken pain etched into her eyes. You don't have anywhere to go, do you? Lila lowered her gaze. I'll manage. I always do, he shook his head. No, not this time. Within hours, the story that had gripped the nation shifted. Headlines changed from homeless girl wanted for abduction to homeless girl saves billionaire son. But in that quiet moment, none of it mattered. Ethan offered her his hand. Come with us, Lila. Let me help you the way you helped me. She hesitated, then slowly placed her hand in his. The rain fell harder, washing the grime from the streets as dawn broke through the clouds. Lila looked down at Noah, now sleeping peacefully in his father's arms, and for the first time in years she felt something she'd forgotten existed. Hope. Because sometimes, the ones who have nothing end up giving the world everything. And sometimes, saving a billionaire's son meant saving yourself too.